Good afternoon and welcome to Patriot Patch. My name is Lake Green and today we are in the town of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, in Pennsylvania's Lehigh and Northampton counties. This town is historic for many reasons, and behind me is actually the old industrial quarter. And actually to my front, if you want to pan the camera that way, is the beginning of downtown historic Bethlehem. The town was founded in 1741 by two men, David Nitschmann and a minister from Saxony with the last name Zinzendorf. These two men were prominent officials in the Moravian Church, which is one of the oldest Protestant churches in history. And these men came to this area of Pennsylvania at the time in 1741 after a Mr. Allen, who founded Allentown, PA nearby, deeded 500 acres of land to the Moravian Church, and they came here and founded the town in 1741, naming it Bethlehem in honor of Jesus Christ. Fun fact, Bethlehem was the first town in the history of the United States to have a publicly decorated Christmas tree presented in town square in the year 1747. There's a lot of awesome historic buildings. In the mid-1740s, only about 4 or 5 years after the town was founded, there was a whole bunch of industry that actually sprung and was created here, because down along this creek, the Monocacy Creek, Monocacy River, there was a major source of moving water that at the time, the early dawning days of the Industrial Revolution, really were about 60 or 70 years at that point away from the development of steam power and mass industry in America and England and Europe. But the water powered a lot of those mills that were essential to the industry. So you had over actually 35 different trades. And a lot of the buildings that I'll feature on a collage at the end of the video include a tannery, a pottery, a blacksmith shop, several mills. You know, there was a lot of industry here. And it was actually the place in the 1760s where some of the earliest water-run machinery and factories were actually built in the United States. So that was the early history. During the American Revolution in the 1770s, the Frenchman, the Marquis de Lafayette, actually recovered from his wounds received at the Battle of Brandywine here. And additionally, men like George Washington, Alexander Hamilton, and Benjamin Franklin, and many prominent members of the Continental Congress also were in and out of Bethlehem during the conflict, especially during the years when the war was fought in the north, as the American capital was Philly at that time. After that, the Industrial Revolution was kind to Bethlehem. Industry continued to be prominent here. And by the 1850s and even afterwards, the rise of the steel industry really originated in Bethlehem. Bethlehem Steel, a famous American steel company, was one of the leading producers of steel and steel products in the United States and in the world for many years. After World War II, steel was booming, and even before that, you had a whole lot of production. Things like battleships, railroad equipment, rails, spikes, all came from the steel sourced here and produced here. Unfortunately though, like much of the American steel industry by the late 1900s, 1990s, Bethlehem Steel was in serious financial decline, and in 2003 it declared bankruptcy, and all steel production actually ceased in Bethlehem in 1995. Steel was the beating heart of this town. Pretty much anybody who lived around here was a working class American, was employed, or at least knew people who were employed in the steel industry. So right in front of me is actually a building that is really remarkably well preserved, and it's called the Tannery. And so obviously, I'm sure as you could guess, a tannery was a facility that was utilized to make leather products. Now, the Moravians, the German settlers of Bethlehem, founders of Bethlehem, actually had a very large livestock and cattle industry in the area. And so cattle were not only a source of meat, but also of leather products. And so in the American Revolution, a huge output of leather products originated in Bethlehem. George Washington's Continental Army actually received a significant amount of leather supplies from Bethlehem. Now, common leather items could be shoes, belts, cartridge boxes, what have you. Building is an awesome example of German architecture. You see the angled roof at the top, the master stonework, and just truly a perfect example of Pennsylvania German heritage and colonial architecture in this area during the period. So Bethlehem, a beautiful town with a rich tradition of German architecture, early colonial American architecture. Again, Germans founded Pennsylvania. Quakers and Germans, Pennsylvania Dutch even today, founded Pennsylvania. So a rich history of early American architecture and German heritage in the United States, and then of course industry. Thanks for watching in advance. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time on Patriot Paths. I'm Lake Green.